I really love this episode. We were already in a very tenuous place, but there's now been the murder of a child, and it's meant to be a harbinger for things to come.
This is starting to become a pure Game of Thrones story now, where everyone's struggling with the legacy that they've been left by their parents.
In episode 2, any kind of stability for Aegon has now been ripped out from beneath his feet.
I am the king!
We always knew that Aegon was going to get rid of that Valyrian model, and it's a really powerful dramatization of how there is a new sheriff in town, and Aegon's reign as king is very different than Viserys.
The aftermath is grief like you just never ever want to experience. Aegon feels completely alone, like no one really understands or appreciates the pain he's in. And I think we see why Aegon's respect for Helaena grows, because she is the only other person in this environment that really knows what this pain is. And seeing that look in Helena's eyes when they cross on the stairs, they don't say much to each other, but they communicate through pain.
I think everything's just so traumatic at that moment that for Helaena, time stands still. I think the noise and everything goes under the radar for her.
I think she's feeling it in the most raw and visceral way, because she's not angry over the loss of an heir, she's bereft over the loss of a child.
After Blood and Cheese, Alicent is just completely devastated, and all she can think about is if she wasn't in bed with Cole, then maybe he would have been able to stop that horrendous murder.
We'll know who did this soon enough. Who would do this save the bitch queen of bastards? There she sits across the bay on her rock, laughing at me. She's fucking laughing at me!
Otto doesn't think Rhaenyra is capable of it. He knows she's good, and he knows that's a weakness, and hopes to use that to his advantage.
We were very interested in the propaganda of it, not only the horror of what's happened, but also the way that it's spun and how it can be used to a political advantage.
It's a way of manipulating the population with fake news. And as cruel as this society is, no one likes a dead baby. So in Otto's job, it's a weapon to employ in terms of public opinion.
Otto is forever the pragmatist, thinking about how to make the best of every possible situation. And it seems to me he's a character who's completely able to compartmentalize his emotions, and that makes him seem cold and calculating. But the child is dead. How can we use this to our advantage?
Somebody once wisely said, never let a crisis go to waste. Otto is exploiting the moment to extract maximum political value, but it's a very effective political tool, because these people that are seen by some of King's Landing as the usurper are now suddenly embraced, and that's why it's diminished Rhaenyra's position so badly.
And they are accusing me of having a hand in this. I think the death of the prince is a paralyzing event in the story for Rhaenyra. It marks a reckoning with what her desire can do. Her vengeful feeling caused the death of another child, and causality suddenly starts to feel threatening, like one can set things in motion that one would never anticipate. As for Daemon, I think she has never really trusted him wholly. I think the question will become how important that actually is.
Like with anything between them, it's utterly complex. And the thing with Daemon is his sense of morality. Although it's perverted and mad, he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Do you accept me as your queen and ruler?
Emma and Matt are incredible actors. They really search for the feeling of a scene, and they find ways to really pace themselves through the scene so they're not coming in raging as might be their first instinct.
Claire gave us such freedom, and something I spoke to Claire about was women's rage. And I think we saw Rhaenyra in season 1 keep a lid on intense feeling, and I was really excited to find out what happens when you take the lid off that.
He was not afraid of you, Daemon! He could not trust you any more than I can trust you.
They have a really interesting relationship, and we love writing for them. They have a connection that nobody else on the show shares. They are the same person almost in different bodies. The difference that Daemon was a man and gets to do whatever he wants.
Father?
And Rhaenyra has to wear a dress and stay cooped up in a castle, and so feels that frustration. At the same time, Daemon was the heir to the throne, and it was taken away and given to Rhaenyra. And there's just no way that you're not angry and resentful about that. And so we wanted to delve into the fact that they have a deep connection. They have each other's back, but we're not sure where they're standing and how everything's gonna play out in the end.
I don't think she realizes how bad this is for her at the moment, because so much of her plan is wrapped up in the realm's assurance that, yes, Rhaenyra will be queen, but at least she has Daemon Targaryen at her side. And now she doesn't, and she will have to reap those consequences in the episodes to come.
Cole is wrapped up in his own guilt and shame because he was in the Queen's chamber when all this was going down.
If it please, my lord.
He's been commander for 5 days, and there's been the most catastrophic thing that's happened. So I think he loses it a little bit, and he feels so guilty, but he can't admit the guilt to anyone. And so he needs to externalize it and sends him on this mission that he deep down knows is a fool's errand.
From the perspective of Eric and Eric, they're very honourable, very diligent, and Eric respects the fact that Kristen probably come from a similar background, but he's not very honourable with his oath. So there's a little bit of an underlying tension there.
You will go to Dragonstone and strike down Rhaenyra in her own halls.
Eric thinks it's a terrible idea. The only things Eric and Eric had was duty and the love for each other, so it's putting those things together and making them choose.
As you command.
The Eric and Auric duel is a giant moment in Westerosi history, and of course Eric infiltrates the castle successfully, uses the uniform and the helmet that makes them all look alike to his advantage.
We always love that moment of these two brothers who love each other more than anything also being set to kill each other, and there's a very American Civil War brother-on-brother aspect to it. Why are they doing this? It's because these nobles have decided that they're mad at each other, and now these guys have to battle it to the death. But Elliot and Luke are phenomenal in that scene. It was a really incredible moment on set.
So, Eric.
Believe me, I had no choice. Brother!
We must have done over 30 hours of rehearsals on the fight scene. We wanted to put all our energy into it, and I feel like in the midst of the aggression of it, I think it should be quite a beautiful scene. And it was super emotional as well, and hopefully we can capture that for the audience anyway, because it'd be wicked if they could get a sense of how we felt on the day.
I can hardly talk about the fight between Eric and Eric because it's heartbreaking, but it's an incredible scene. And I know it sounds completely opposite to it, but this is a love story. This is a story about how much these brothers love each other. So what are the questions? What are they saying to each other? Why is it so hard? It's because they love each other so deeply. So for me, this was a story about brotherly love like no other.